I am recording today's episode from the Gaylord Opryland Hotel and Resort in Nashville, Tennessee, and I just got finished watching Tony Robbins on stage for over 4 hours. And in today's episode, I want to share with you my biggest takeaways from listening to him, so stay tuned. Hey guys, how's it going? So, I'm not typically one to drink the Kool-Aid. Like, I don't get struck by hero worship a lot, and I just don't get intimidated by people. But this weekend, I was here in Tennessee at a conference, and I got to listen to Tony Robbins talk for like 4.5 hours. It was amazing. And there's a reason that man has coached some of the most incredible politicians, entrepreneurs, athletes, and just human beings on the planet. He's worked with Nelson Mandela. He's worked with presidents of the United States. He just worked with Conor McGregor on his landmark fight where he beat his opponent in 40 seconds. Incredible. He comes along, he's one of the greatest coaches in the world. I doubt there are many people on the planet who have had more of an impact on as many human beings as he had. He's had millions of people come to his workshops and his conferences and learn about his principles and frameworks and the way he lives life. And being taught by him was a really interesting experience for me. And there's one thing in particular that really stood out. And I'm going to tell you what that is, but first I want to tell you a story. So a few weeks ago, I remember sitting at home, and my wife had been feeling pretty ill, and it had been a while since we connected. She was feeling a little low on energy, and our house was starting to get dirty, and I was working really hard at my job and taking care of her, and things were just kind of piling up, and I was growing resentful. And so I just sat down, like I'm going to sit right here. I sat down on the couch and I started thinking about all the things that I wished my wife was doing better and the ways that I wished my life would be different. And I was getting frustrated and overwhelmed, and I was getting angry, and I was becoming resentful, and it was not a good situation. And then I told myself, you know what? I can be better than this. And I started to tell myself, like, you know what? There's things that you can do that maybe you could be better at. But I was still, I don't know, have you ever just felt stuck? Have you ever felt just like, regardless of what happened or that the circumstances that you were in were just a little bit unfair, and your energy is low and you feel a little gross and depressed? That's how I was feeling in that moment. And then something clicked in my brain, and I said, you know what? If you don't like your reality, why don't you get up and change it? And so I stood up and I set a timer, and I spent 20 minutes. I turned on some awesome upbeat music. I started dancing around the house, and I just went on a cleaning frenzy, and I did the dishes, and I swept and mopped the floor, and I vacuumed, and I tidied up our bedroom. And within 20 minutes, not only was our house in a completely different state, but my energy was in a completely different state. And I was thinking about that yesterday as I learned this lesson from Mr. Tony Robbins. And one of the things he said is that affirmations don't really change your mood. It's important to be aware of the story that you're telling yourself so that you can change the story. But the quickest way to change your attitude, to change your mood, and to change your mindset is to change your state. And by changing your state, let me give you an example of what he means. So, if you've ever been to a Tony Robbins workshop, you know that weird stuff happens. Like, his AV team is incredible. He would get on stage and he would start telling a story, and out of nowhere, music would just start playing. Or he would talk to somebody, and in the middle of their conversation, the perfect song would start playing, and then he'd get everybody to stand up and start jumping around and high-fiving everybody around you and giving each other hugs and screaming at the top of your lungs. And he told us why he does this. He said he does this because the emotions that you experience are directly tied to the memories that you retain. And so when you're learning something, if you're in a heightened emotional state, if your adrenaline's pumping and you've got endorphins in your blood, you're more likely to remember it, and you're more likely to associate a positive feeling with it. And so he's constantly getting people to stand up and yell and think about the positive things that they've had happening in their life and express gratitude and get physical affection from other people, because it gets your endorphins going, it gets that dopamine going, it gets that oxytocin going in your brain, and you're way more likely to remember things that way, and you're way more likely to be in a better mood. And so he said, if you are struggling in life and you're feeling down and depressed, the best way to get yourself out of it, one of the best ways, is to alter your state. So move, get up, jump around, exercise, scream, yell, think about positive experiences that you've had. Think about moments of generosity in your life, personal victories that you've had, accomplishments that you've achieved. And I think there are a lot of people who are listening to this episode right now who might be feeling stuck in their marriage. They might be feeling a little burned out, a little overwhelmed, and you might have been kind of stacking up negative stories and negative experiences in your head for quite a while. And when your life is experienced through this framework or through this lens of negativity and overwhelm and stress and frustration, and you're feeling lethargic and you feel like you're kind of dragging along throughout the day, it's going to impact your mood, and it's going to impact how you see everything else that you experience throughout that day. But if you look at life as something that's happening for you instead of something that's happening to you, and it's something that you have control over, like your emotional and mental and physical state is something you have control over. If you're feeling gross or resentful or upset or overwhelmed or angry or burned out, there's no reason that you can't turn on your favorite song, that you can't get up and move around, that you can't think of remember a time where you laughed so hard that you cried or your belly hurt, or think about some of the most cherished memories that you have with your best friends or the people that you love the most in the world, and just spend like 30 seconds or a minute or 2 minutes thinking about those things while you get your body moving and get your endorphins pumping in your brain and in your body. And when you do that, it shifts who you are in that moment. It shifts how you show up in the world. It shifts how you feel. And instead of wishing or hoping to change how you're feeling in that moment, you take it upon yourself to create the change. And if the change happens in your body, it will happen in your heart. And so I want to encourage you, if you're feeling stuck, if you feel like you've been feeling sad or overwhelmed or depressed for a while, I want you to experiment with changing your state. Change your physical state, change your emotional state. Think about, what are the stories you're telling yourself? Remember that story I told you at the beginning of the episode? I was feeling resentful and sad and upset and depressed, and the moment that I got up and started moving to that music and cleaned the house and got some stuff done, I was surprised at how quickly I could get everything taken care of that was bothering me. And 2, I felt a sense of accomplishment and getting so much stuff done. And 3, getting up and moving around, and it helped me to change the mood I was in. And I noticed as I started accomplishing things, I felt better about my life, I felt better about my wife, and I felt better about my overall situation. And man, it just felt good. I want to do more of that. As cheesy as it felt last night to be jumping up and down with 5,000 people screaming at the top of my lungs, pumping my arms in the air, and giving random people hugs and high fives, it felt good to live that way. One of the other things he said last night that kind of aligns with this principle is, how many of you walked into this room on a scale from 1 to 10, between a 1 and a 5 on the energy level? And then he had them raise their hands, and he said, how about a 6? How about a 7? How about an 8? How about a 9? How about a 10? And he said 2 things that really hit me. He said, how many of you would want to date anybody who is at an energy level of 7 or below? And then he also pointed out that if you're feeling a 9 or a 10, it's almost impossible to admit that you're a 9 or a 10 without an audible reaction to it. So if you're at a 9 or you're at a 10, you're going to be wooing, you're going to be excited, you're going to be happy, and it's going to come out through your voice and through your body. And I want you to consider, when you fell in love, maybe even on your wedding day, what was your emotional state? Were you at a 5? Were you at a 7? When you had your first kiss, were you at a 9? Were you at a 10? Just think about some of the highlights of your marriage, the points where you were feeling the most connected and the most in love. What was your emotional state? If you rated yourself on a scale from 1 to 10. And how much control do you have over your emotional state? All of it. You have all the control. And so if you know you're at your best when you're at an 8, a 9, or a 10, and you know that you probably wouldn't want to date or be with somebody who is at a 4 all the time, and you have control over your emotional state, then you get the opportunity to choose how you show up inside your marriage, and to be the type of person that is at an 8, a 9, or a 10 as often as possible, by thinking the thoughts that you want to think, stacking positive thoughts instead of negative thoughts, moving your body, dancing, finding the things that bring you to life. And that's going to make your partner more attracted to you. It's going to get them more engaged. And hopefully when you bring up your energy level, that becomes contagious, and your partner brings up their energy level as well. So that is the thought I want to leave with you today. The invitation I have for you is when you end this episode, when you stop listening, don't go on and listen to another podcast. Don't just like turn things off. I want you to find a jam, your jam. I want you to turn it on, and whether you're in your car or whether you're in your bedroom or if you're out for a walk or you're at the gym, I want you to take some time and I want you to like get your heart pumping. I want you, if you're in a place where you can, to vocalize some of your excitement. I want you to get your energy up. I want you to dance in your seat or dance wherever you are and see what it's like to have control over your emotional state, and then think about what it would be like if you were to utilize the power that you have over your emotional state on a regular basis. Think about the impact that would have. That is your homework for today. Thanks for tuning into today's episode. I will have more takeaways. I listened to some incredible speakers at this conference, like Ryan Holiday, who is the author of one of my very favorite books, The Obstacle is the Way. Listen to Tom Bilyeu, who's just a crazy, inspiring entrepreneur. Listen to Russell Brunson, like a lot of really cool people who have done some amazing, amazing things. And they have it's amazing to me how many of the principles of success in other areas of life, whether it's music, athletics, art, or business, apply. Like they cross over into your relationships, into marriage. And I'm excited to share some of those principles with you in future episodes. Hope you guys have an amazing day, and I hope you do the homework. Level up that emotional state. Check you later, guys. If you just walked up to a stranger in the street right now and said, "Hey, what do I need to do to make sure that my relationship withstands the test of time, that I have an amazing, amazing relationship?" I guarantee you, one of the first things they would say is go on dates together. Everybody knows it. You got to go on dates if you want to have an extraordinary relationship. But if you're like most people, your dating life might have taken a bit of a hit lately. Maybe you're not going on as many dates as you were when you first met, or maybe the dates that you are going on are a little bit boring. Maybe you feel like you're stuck in a bit of a rut and you're just kind of doing the same old thing over and over again. If that's the case, I have a gift for you. If you go to getfreedates.com, I am going to send you 5 free dates. Once a week, you're going to get a date for the next 5 weeks, and that date is going to include a game plan. I'm going to send you amazing activities. I'm going to send you links to products and games that you can play together. I'm going to send you treats that you can make together or that you can buy and enjoy that you probably haven't ever had before. I'm going to send you conversation starters that are questions or topics of conversation. They're going to make sure that this date is a connecting experience, that you laugh, that you have fun, and that you feel more connected by the end of the date than you did when you began. That is what dating is all about. It's not about the boring routine. It's about implementing some novelty, some surprise, some excitement, and getting to know your partner on a much deeper level. And I am going to send you 5 of those dates. All you have to do is go to getfreedates.com, type in your name and email address, and I'll send you 1 date every week for 5 weeks. I want you to have an amazing relationship, and I want you to continue to date each other, and this is my way of helping you out. So just go to getfreedates.com and sign up.